In this video, we're going to discuss aerobatic maneuvers. They are often confused with defensive maneuvers, but they're not the same thing. Think of classic aerobatic maneuvers as building blocks that you can use to create more complex moves that will be useful in the specific situation that you find yourself in. Let's see what those building blocks are and how this knowledge can be applied to actual combat. An aileron roll is a basic maneuver in which an aircraft does a full revolution about its longitudinal axis without changing the direction of the flight. It's very easy to do. You simply have to hold down one of the roll keys until the plane is fully rotated. This maneuver is not very useful in combat as your aircraft stays on its projected flight path, but you'll often see it used as a part of a more complex set of maneuvers. Sometimes just a half of it even. A canopy roll is much more effective. While your aircraft still exists, the maneuver on the same heading as it entered, it follows a much trickier helical path. To pull it off, you have to hold one of the roll keys and positive pitch. To make the maneuver faster, you can also press and hold the yaw key in the direction of your roll. A canopy roll is very handy when you have to evade enemy fire, or, even more often, when you want to make an enemy that's sitting on your 6 to overshoot. In the latter case, it's a good idea to also cut your throttle a little bit. A split is another defensive move that can be utilized to disengage when running into a faster enemy, or when you want to get into a quick dive. Do a half roll until you're upside down. Then pull back on the stick to make a half loop. Level your aircraft, and it's done. An Immelmann turn is like an inverted split. The idea is the same, but we're going upwards. Yank the stick to pull up until you're upside down. Then un-invert the plane by rolling left or right. It's important to remember that your aircraft will be gaining speed in a split and losing it while doing an Immelmann. Naturally, if you don't want to become an easy target, you'd better gain some speed before doing the latter. A loop-the-loop is probably one of the most well-known aerobatic maneuvers. It's incredibly simple to pull off. Gain some speed, pull up, and wait until your aircraft exits the loop. As simple as that. A rollover, also known as a renversmann. The aircraft is pulling up at 50 to 60 degrees until it's almost stalling, then makes a 180-degree turn, exiting in the opposite direction. First, pull up, obviously. At the top of the climb, go easier on the throttle, apply full rudder to yaw the aircraft through a cartwheel of 180 degrees, and then simply dive vertically to the same previous altitude when the maneuver started. Take note, on slow parts of the trajectory, we also had to engage our elevator to make a clean exit. A hammerhead turn, or a stall turn, is very similar. It's what you get if you go almost full vertical. Pull hard up until you enter a near vertical climb, and keep moving until your speed drops to around 120 to 130 kph. At that point, cut your throttle a bit, and then make a 180-degree turn with your rudder until you're in a dive. You've probably noticed that during that turn, we also had to make use of our control surfaces to make sure that the wing was perpendicular to the ground. Enough theory. Let's see how it works in combat. A very common scenario. an opponent is approaching from the rear. If their aircraft is gaining on you, it means that their speed is much higher than yours. Let them close the distance until there is only around 1,500 meters of distance between you, and go into a split to get under them. Then go straight into a barrel roll to make it hard for them to shoot you, and when the enemy overshoots, do an Immelmann turn. Now the tides have changed. The opponent is vulnerable to your attack. Another example, an enemy is attacking you head-on. To evade his attack, go into a small dive, while making yourself a more difficult target with a canopy roll. It's important to alternate between rolling left and right to make it really hard for your opponent to actually hit you. As their aircraft passes you, do a hammerhead turn and get on their 6, or attack them from above. A split is a great way to launch a boom and zoom attack. If you fail to eliminate the target on your first attempt, you can change your approach and go into full dogfighting mode. Or you can try again by getting some distance between you and your target and doing a hammerhead turn. This way, you will often be able to save both your energy and your aircraft. You've probably noticed that there were no loop-the-loops in those combat scenarios. That's only natural, as it's not a combat maneuver per se. It's just a stunt you can do to show the capabilities of an aircraft. At the same time, more complex maneuvers that use parts of it, like the split or the Immelmann, are very useful in battle. It's the same with the classic aileron roll, which is just one of the basic aerobatic maneuvers. A canopy roll, on the other hand, is already very useful in many combat situations. Okay guys, that's it for today. Don't forget, please, to share your own flying tips in the comments below, and I'll see you in battle.